The message said Phase 2. Min-jae thought he knew what his wife was running from. He was wrong. 3 years ago, something happened. Something Yuna witnessed. Something his father made disappear. Or so they thought. The person on the beach wasn't a new lover. It was a ghost. Someone who was supposed to be dead. Someone who knew every secret the Park family buried. And now that ghost had Yuna's evidence. Her recordings. Her proof. Phase 2 wasn't about running away. It was about burning everything down. And Min-jae? He was about to choose which side of the fire he wanted to be on. Min-jae stared at his phone screen. The video from 3 years ago was still paused. Him and his father in that office. That conversation. His finger hovered over the play button. He didn't want to remember, but he had to. He pressed play. 3 years ago. The video showed his father's private office. The one in the warehouse on the south side. The one they used for serious business. On screen, Min-jae watched himself enter. Younger. Less tired. Still hopeful that he could balance both worlds. The organization and his family. His father sat behind the desk. Smoking. Always smoking. "We have a problem," his father said. "What kind of problem?" The accountant, Lee Hyun-woo. He's been asking questions. Looking at books he shouldn't be looking at. Min-jae remembered this now. Lee Hyun-woo. Yuna's older brother. The brother who'd moved to Seoul to work in finance. The brother who'd gotten hired by a reputable firm that turned out to be a front for the Park family's money laundering. The brother who'd started to figure it out. On screen, his father continued. "He knows too much. And he's smart. Too smart. He made copies." Copies of what? Everything. Transaction records, account numbers, names, dates. His father exhaled smoke. "He's building a case." Young Min-jae on the screen looked uncomfortable. "What do you want to do?" "What we always do with problems." His father's voice was ice. "Remove them. He has family. I don't care. He made his choice when he started digging. His sister is married to... I know who his sister is married to." His father looked directly at him. "Your wife's brother is about to become a liability. I'm giving you a chance to handle this quietly, or I will handle it loudly." Min-jae watched himself nod slowly on screen. "I'll take care of it." The video ended. Min-jae sat in the darkness of his apartment, the phone screen fading to black. He remembered now. He'd given the order. Not directly. He'd passed it to Jung-ho. Said Lee Hyun-woo needed to disappear for a while. Nothing permanent, just scared enough to stop digging. But Jung-ho had interpreted it differently, or his father had given different orders. Lee Hyun-woo died in a car accident 2 weeks later. Yuna had been devastated. Her last family member, gone. Min-jae had comforted her. Held her while she cried. Attended the funeral. All while knowing. And Yuna never suspected. Or so he thought. His phone buzzed. Another video file. Another message. "Keep watching. You're almost there." He opened it. This video was newer. Dated 2 years ago. It showed Yuna. In a car. Parked outside that same warehouse where his father's office was. She'd been following him even then. The video played. On screen, Yuna sat motionless in the driver's seat, watching the warehouse entrance. Then a figure emerged. Jung-ho. And behind him, someone Min-jae didn't expect. Lee Hyun-woo. Alive. Walking. Talking. Very much not dead. Min-jae's heart stopped. The video continued. Showed Yuna's face in close-up. Showed her eyes widen. Showed her hand go to her mouth. Then showed her slowly, carefully, start recording. The video ended. Min-jae sat frozen. Lee Hyun-woo was alive, which meant the car accident was staged, which meant someone had helped him fake his death, which meant he'd been in hiding for 3 years, and Yuna had found him, 2 years ago. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered immediately. "Who is this?" "Hello, Min-jae." A man's voice. Familiar but older. "It's been a long time." Min-jae's blood ran cold. "Hyun-woo?" Surprised. "You shouldn't be. Your wife is very resourceful. You're dead. I was supposed to be. Thanks to you and your father." A pause. "But Jung-ho had a conscience. He helped me disappear instead of disappearing me permanently. Cost him everything. But he did it. Jung-ho. Min-jae's most trusted lieutenant. The man who'd been helping him search for Yuna. The man who'd been working with her the entire time. Where is she? Safe. With Jae. With me." Hyun-woo's voice was calm. "We've been planning this for 2 years, Min-jae. Ever since Yuna found me. Ever since she learned what your family did. I didn't know. Didn't you? You gave the order. Don't pretend you're innocent." Min-jae closed his eyes. "What do you want?" "Justice. Your father destroyed lives, laundered blood money, ordered executions, built an empire on corpses." A pause. "And you helped him. I'm not my father. Aren't you?" You abandoned your family for a lie. You forgot your son's birthday. You became exactly what he trained you to be. Hyunwoo's voice hardened. But here's the thing, Min-jae. You have one chance. One opportunity to not be him. What chance? Phase 2 starts tomorrow. Yuna has evidence, recordings, financial documents, testimonies, everything needed to bring your father's organization down, to expose every dirty deal, every murder, every crime. Min-jae's hands shook. She'll destroy everything. Yes, unless you help us first. Why would I? Because Jae deserves a father who isn't a monster. Because Yuna deserves to know you chose right for once. And because deep down you know your father's empire is poison. Silence. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., you'll receive an envelope. Inside are instructions. Follow them exactly. Help us expose your father. Or stand with him and burn with everything he built. And if I help you, then maybe, you get a chance to see your son again someday. Not as his father. You don't deserve that anymore. But as someone who did the right thing in the end. The line went dead. Min-jae sat in the silence. Tomorrow morning. He had until then to decide. His father's empire or his soul. His legacy of blood or a chance at redemption. He looked at his phone. At the paused video of Hyunwoo alive. At the ghost who'd come back to haunt them all. And for the first time in 3 years, he knew what he had to do. The envelope arrived at exactly 9 a.m. Min-jae hadn't slept. He'd spent the night pacing his apartment, drinking coffee, staring at those videos over and over. When the knock came, he almost didn't answer. But he did. A young delivery man stood in the hallway holding a plain manila envelope. Park Min-jae? Yes. Sign here. Min-jae signed. Took the envelope. Closed the door. Inside was a burner phone and a single sheet of paper. Today, 2 p.m., your father meets with the Kims to finalize the Eastern Territory deal. The meeting is at the Golden Dragon Restaurant private room. You're expected to attend. Wear this phone. Keep it on. We'll be listening. Get your father to confess. Get him to talk about Lee Hyunwoo, about the murders, about the money, everything. You have one chance. Don't waste it. Why? That last initial hit him like a punch. Why? Yuna. She'd written this. His wife, his estranged, brilliant, terrifying wife, was orchestrating all of this. Min-jae looked at the burner phone. Small, easy to hide. Probably high-quality recording equipment. He could do it. Walk into that meeting. Wear the wire. Get his father talking. Betray everything he'd ever known. Or he could warn his father. Tell him about Hyunwoo. About Yuna's plan. Protect the empire. His phone, his real phone, buzzed. A text from Young-ho. Boss, I'm sorry. So it was true. Young-ho had been working with them. Another text. I couldn't kill him. Hyunwoo was innocent. Your father wanted him dead for asking questions. I couldn't do it. Another. I've been helping Yuna for 2 years, feeding her information, protecting her escape route. I know you'll probably kill me for this, but it was the right thing to do. Min-jae stared at the messages. Jung-ho, his most loyal man, the one he'd trusted with everything, had betrayed him. No, had done what Min-jae should have done 3 years ago. He typed back, "Where are you?" The response came immediately. "Somewhere your father can't reach. I'm done with that life. I'm done with blood. Jung-ho, you're a good man, Min-jae. Under all the bullshit, I've seen it. Yuna saw it once too. That's why she's giving you this chance. Don't waste it." Min-jae looked at the clock. 9:47 a.m. 4 hours until the meeting. 4 hours to decide who he wanted to be. He picked up the burner phone. Turned it on. The screen showed one saved contact. Angel, he almost laughed. Angel. Yuna's cruel sense of irony. He called it. 3 rings. Then, Min-jae. Yuna's voice. He hadn't heard it in weeks. It sounded different. Stronger. Clearer. Free. Yuna. You got the envelope. I did. Silence. Then, are you going to do it? He didn't answer immediately. Min-jae, I need to know. Are you going to help us or not? Why? His voice cracked. Why give me this chance, after everything I did? Because Jae asked about you last night. Her voice softened slightly. He asked if his appa was a bad man, and I didn't know how to answer. Min-jae's chest tightened. I want to tell him no. I want to tell him that his father made mistakes but chose to fix them, that he stood up to evil even when it was hard. A pause. But I can only tell him that if it's true. Yuna, do you know what your father did? Really did? Not just to Hyunwoo. To dozens of people. Hundreds. Families destroyed. Lives ended. All for money and power. I know. And you helped him. I know. So this is your chance to stop helping him. To actually do something good for once. Her voice hardened. Where the phone? Get him talking. Give us what we need to end this. And then? Then the police raid the organization. Everyone gets arrested. Your father, his lieutenants, everyone complicit, including me. Yes. He closed his eyes. How long? 3 to 5 years if you cooperate fully. Less if your testimony is good. Prison. The end of everything he knew. But also, the end of the poison. And Jay? Yuna's voice softened. He'll be safe, far away, growing up in a place where he doesn't have to be afraid, where he doesn't have to learn how to be a monster. Will I see him again? Long silence. Maybe, when he's older, if he wants to, if you've actually changed. A pause. But not as his father, Minjai. You lost that right. It hurt more than any physical pain, but it was fair. Okay. I'll do it. I'll wear the wire. I'll get him talking. He heard her exhale. Thank you. Yuna. Yes? I'm sorry. For everything. For Hyunwoo. For Sua. For forgetting Jay. For breaking you. Silence. Then quietly. I know. The line went dead. Minjai sat holding the phone. 2 p.m. 5 hours to prepare to destroy his entire life. And somehow, he felt lighter than he had in years. The Golden Dragon restaurant was exactly as Minjai remembered. Red and gold decor. Private rooms with soundproofed walls. Staff who knew when to disappear. His father's favorite place to conduct business. Minjai arrived at 1:45 p.m., 15 minutes early. The burner phone was in his jacket pocket, recording. Tiny but powerful. His heart hammered as he walked through the entrance. The hostess bowed. Mr. Park, your father is already in the Jade Room. Of course he was. Always early. Always in control. Minjai walked down the familiar hallway, past the regular dining room, past the kitchen, to the private rooms in the back. The Jade Room door was closed. He stopped outside it. This was it. The moment that would define everything. He could still turn around. Could still warn his father. Could still choose blood over justice. But then he thought of Jay on that swing. Laughing. Free. And he opened the door. His father sat at the head of a long table. 2 other men, the Kim brothers, sat on either side. Plates of food were already spread out. Expensive liquor sat in crystal glasses. Minjai, his father nodded. You're late. I'm early. You should have been here before me. That's respect. Minjai sat down without responding. The Kim brothers exchanged glances. They could feel the tension. Gentlemen, his father said, turning back to business. As we discussed, the Eastern Territory is valuable, but it requires discretion. The police have been watching that area. We can handle the police, the older Kim brother said. We have 3 captains on payroll. Good, but there's also the matter of the previous owner, Mr. Chen. He's been resistant to selling. Resistant how? He refuses to leave, claims the territory is his birthright. His father smiled coldly. He'll need to be convinced. Permanently. The younger Kim laughed. Like the accountant? What was his name? Lee something? Minjai's blood froze. His father's expression didn't change. Lee Hyunwoo. Yes. He was similarly resistant to understanding his place. What happened to him again? The older Kim asked. Car accident. Very tragic. His father poured more liquor. These things happen when people ask too many questions. He was confessing. Right there. Casually. Over lunch. Minjai's hand instinctively went to his jacket pocket, making sure the phone was still recording. Speaking of questions, his father turned to Minjai. Your wife's brother. That was Lee, wasn't it? Minjai's throat was dry. Yes. Did she ever suspect? No. Good. Women are better off not knowing these things. They get emotional. His father took a drink. Although I heard she left you. Took the boy. She did. See? Emotional. Probably found out about your whore's baby. His father shook his head. I told you to be more careful. Mistresses are fine. Getting them pregnant is sloppy. The Kim brothers laughed. Minjai forced himself to stay calm. The baby wasn't mine. His father's expression shifted. What? DNA test. 0%. She was playing me. Silence around the table. Then his father started laughing. Hard. You're joking. I'm not. So you abandoned your wife and son for another man's bastard? His father laughed harder. That's the funniest thing I've heard all year. The Kim brothers joined in. Minjai sat still, letting them laugh, letting them talk, letting them confess. The conversation continued. More business. More casual mentions of violence, of bribes, of murders. His father bragged about avoiding prosecution for 15 years, about owning judges, about making problems disappear. Every word was being recorded. After 2 hours, the meeting ended. The Kim brothers left first. Minjai stood to leave. Minjai! His father's voice stopped him. He turned. His father was looking at him with an expression Minjae couldn't read. Are you all right? You've been quiet. I'm fine. You don't look fine. You look. His father studied him. Conflicted. Minjae's hand tightened around the phone in his pocket. I'm just tired. Tired. His father stood up and walked closer. Or guilty. What? You've been different since your wife left. Distracted. Emotional. He stopped directly in front of Minjae. Almost like you're having second thoughts about this life. I'm not. Because second thoughts are dangerous, Minjae. They make men do stupid things. Betray family. Forget loyalty. His father's hand shot out and grabbed Minjae's jacket. Pulled out the burner phone. Time stopped. His father looked at the phone. At the recording in progress. Then slowly looked up at Minjae. You fucking traitor. Minjae didn't move. His father's face twisted with rage. How long? How long have you been working against me? Since I realized what you made me become. His father backhanded him. Minjae's head snapped to the side. Blood filled his mouth. Everything I built. Everything I gave you. And this is how you repay me? You built it on corpses.
Before you continue, if this story touched something in you, you should know this is only the beginning. The complete version includes 30 full audio stories, more than 30 hours of uninterrupted listening. No ads, no cuts, no distractions. Scan the QR code on your screen, or tap the link in the pinned comment to continue listening right now.
I built it for you. His father grabbed him by the collar. So you could have power, respect, everything I didn't have. I didn't want this. Too bad. You're a park. This is your blood. No. Minjae pushed him away. This is your blood, not mine. Not anymore. His father stared at him, then reached into his jacket. Minjae saw the gun before his father even pulled it out. Time slowed. The door burst open. Police flooded in. Dozens of them. Freeze! Hands up! His father spun toward them, gun halfway out. Drop it! Drop the weapon! For a moment, Minjae thought his father would shoot, would go out fighting, but he stopped, slowly raised his hands. The gun clattered to the floor. An officer grabbed his father, forced him to his knees, cuffed him. Another officer approached Minjae. Park Minjae, you're under arrest for... I know. Minjae held out his hands. I know. They cuffed him too. As they led both of them out, father and son, side by side in handcuffs, his father looked at him. You've destroyed everything. No, Minjae said quietly. You did. A long time ago. I just finally stopped helping you. Outside, police cars lined the street. Officers were raiding multiple locations simultaneously. The entire organization was falling. And as they pushed Minjae into the police car, he saw something across the street. A figure standing in the shadows. Jung-ho. Their eyes met. Jung-ho nodded once, then disappeared into the crowd. Minjae sat in the back of the police car as it pulled away. He'd done it. Phase 2 was complete. The empire was burning. And somewhere, thousands of miles away, Yuna and Jay were watching the news. Safe, free, finally free. The interrogation room was cold. Minjae sat alone at a metal table, still in handcuffs, waiting. He'd been here for 6 hours. They'd taken his phone, his wallet, his belt, photographed him, fingerprinted him, put him in a cell with drunks and thieves while they processed the arrest. Now they wanted answers. The door opened. 2 detectives entered. One older, graying at the temples. One younger, sharp-eyed. The older one sat down across from Minjae. I'm Detective Kong. This is Detective Yoon. We have a lot to talk about. Minjae nodded. You understand your rights? Yes. And you're willing to cooperate fully? Your lawyer confirmed this? Minjae had been appointed a public defender who'd spent exactly 10 minutes with him before the interrogation. The man had looked exhausted and overworked. I'm willing to cooperate. Detective Kang opened a folder. Inside were transcripts, photographs, documents. The recording you helped obtain is extensive. 2 hours and 17 minutes. Your father confessed to multiple murders, bribery, money laundering, extortion. He looked up. This is the biggest organized crime case in Seoul in 20 years. I know. We've arrested 43 people so far. Your father, the Kim brothers, 7 lieutenants, dozens of low-level operatives. He paused. But we need you to testify. To fill in the gaps. To give us names, dates, locations. I will. In exchange, the prosecutor is offering a deal. You cooperate fully, you get 5 years. Reduced to 3 with good behavior. You'll serve time in a minimum security facility. When you're released, you'll be barred from any association with organized crime. 5 years. 3, if he behaved. What about my father? Life without parole. Multiple counts of first-degree murder. He'll die in prison. Min-jae felt nothing. No sadness. No relief. Just acceptance. And the others? Depends on their level of involvement. Some will get decades. Some will get less. Detective Kang leaned forward. But I need to know about you, Min-jae. We have evidence you were involved in illegal activities. Money laundering. Extortion. Possibly violence. I was involved in money laundering and extortion. But I never killed anyone. Never ordered a killing. Never. Min-jae thought about Lee Hyun-woo. About that order he'd given Young-ho 3 years ago. I gave an order once, to scare someone. My father turned it into a murder without my knowledge. Or at least I thought it was a murder. Lee Hyun-woo. Yes. We know. He's testified. He's confirmed that Young-ho helped him fake his death, and that you believed he was dead. Detective Kang made a note. That will help your case. Where is Young-ho? Witness protection. He's cooperating too. His testimony is crucial. Min-jae nodded slowly. One more thing. Detective Kang pulled out another photo. Sua Park. Well, not really Park. You two weren't married. Sua Kim. The woman who claimed to be pregnant with your child. Min-jae's jaw clenched. We investigated her. The real father is a small-time dealer named Han Ji-woo. He's been arrested on drug charges. But Detective Kang smiled slightly. She's facing fraud charges, attempted extortion. She tried to get money from you under false pretenses. How long? 2 to 4 years. And the baby? He looked at his notes. Born 3 days ago. Mother and child are fine. The baby is with Ji-woo's mother now. Child services is involved. Min-jae felt a complicated mix of emotions. Relief that the baby was okay. Anger that Sua had lied so thoroughly. And underneath it all, emptiness. Because none of it mattered anymore. The fantasy he'd destroyed his marriage for was completely gone. Is there anything else you want to tell us? Detective Kang asked. Min-jae thought for a long moment. Then he started talking. He told them everything. Every deal. Every transaction. Every crime he'd witnessed or participated in. Names. Dates. Locations. Bank accounts. Shell companies. He talked for 8 hours. By the end, 3 more detectives had joined them, frantically taking notes. When he finally finished, it was past midnight. Detective Kang looked at him with something almost like respect. You just gave us enough to dismantle the entire organization. Every branch. Every operation. Good. Why? Why burn it all down? Min-jae thought about Jae on that swing. About Yuna's face in that final video. Because my son deserves better than this legacy. Detective Kang nodded slowly. You'll be transferred to a holding facility tomorrow. Your trial is scheduled for 3 months from now. Based on your cooperation, I believe the judge will honor the plea deal. They led him back to his cell. Min-jae lay on the thin mattress, staring at the ceiling. In 3 months, he'd be sentenced. In 3 years, maybe less, he'd be free. And then he'd have to figure out how to live with what he'd done. How to be a person who deserved to exist in the same world as his son. The trial was a media circus. Every major news outlet covered it. Park criminal empire collapses. Heir turns on father in historic testimony. 3 decades of crime exposed. Min-jae sat in the defendant's chair, wearing an orange jumpsuit, listening to prosecutors detail every crime his family had committed. His father sat across the courtroom in a separate trial. They'd been separated after his father had tried to attack Min-jae during a hallway transfer. You're dead to me, his father had screamed as guards pulled him away. You hear me? Dead. Min-jae had just stood there, silent, because the feeling was mutual. The trial lasted 2 weeks. 47 witnesses testified. Lee Hyun-woo took the stand, told his story, explained how he'd discovered the money laundering, how he'd made copies of documents, how he'd been threatened, how Young-ho had helped him fake his death. He looked at Min-jae once during his testimony. Min-jae couldn't read his expression. Young-ho testified via video link from witness protection. His face was blurred, his voice distorted, but Min-jae recognized him anyway. Min-jae gave me an order, Jung-ho said carefully. He told me to scare Lee Hyun-woo, to make him stop asking questions, but his father gave me a different order, a direct order, to kill him. And what did you do? I faked the death, made it look like a car accident, helped Hyun-woo disappear, because I knew Min-jae didn't actually want him dead. He was just trapped in his father's world. The prosecutor pressed him, but Min-jae didn't stop the order, didn't try to save Lee Hyun-woo. No, but he also didn't know what his father had ordered. I kept that from him. I didn't want him to know how far his father would go. It was a complicated testimony, It didn't absolve Minjae, but it provided context. Sua testified too. She'd been offered a deal in exchange for her testimony about Minjae's state of mind during their relationship. She looked different, thinner, tired. The baby weight was gone, but so was the confidence. He was lonely, she said quietly. His wife had become distant. He felt ignored. I took advantage of that. Did you love him? No. I loved what he represented. Security, money, status. She looked down. I'm not proud of what I did. The prosecutor asked about the pregnancy. I knew the baby wasn't his. I knew from the beginning. But I thought if I could just get him to commit, to leave his wife, then maybe he'd never find out. Maybe I could make it work. Did you feel guilty? Sua's eyes filled with tears. Every day. But I was desperate. And desperate people do terrible things. She looked at Minjae. I'm sorry, she mouthed. Minjae didn't respond. Finally, it was Minjae's turn to testify. He'd been coached by his lawyer, told what to say, how to say it. But when he sat in the witness chair, under oath, facing the judge and the jury and the cameras, he ignored all of it. He just told the truth. I was raised in this world, he said. From the time I could walk, I was taught that power was everything, that weakness was death, that family loyalty meant blind obedience. My father groomed me to take over, to continue his legacy. And I did. For years, I did exactly what he wanted. He took a breath, but I had a wife who loved me, a son who looked up to me. And slowly, I started to see what I was becoming, what I was teaching my child by example. I abandoned them. I chose a lie over them. I forgot my son's birthday because I was too busy playing house with a woman who was using me. His voice cracked. And my wife, my brilliant, patient wife, she could have destroyed me. She had evidence. She had proof. She could have exposed me and humiliated me and taken everything. But she didn't. She gave me a choice. She gave me a chance to be better, to do the right thing for once in my miserable life. He looked directly at the camera he knew was broadcasting this. Looked at wherever Yuna might be watching. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve my son. I don't deserve anything but this. He gestured to the courtroom. But I'm grateful. Grateful that she gave me a chance to stop the cycle, to end the poison. The prosecutor asked more questions. Minjae answered all of them. Honestly. Completely. When he was done, the courtroom was silent. The verdict came 3 days later. His father, life without parole, multiple counts of first-degree murder, conspiracy, racketeering, money laundering. The Kim brothers, 25 years each. 7 lieutenants, 10 to 20 years each. Sua, 3 years, suspended to 18 months with probation. She'd served 6 months already during the trial. She'd be out in a year. And Minjae, 5 years, eligible for parole after 3 with good behavior. The judge looked at him as she read the sentence. Mr. Park, you have cooperated fully with authorities. You have shown remorse. You have helped dismantle a criminal organization that has caused immeasurable harm. But you were still complicit. You still participated. You still benefited from suffering. I hope you use these 5 years to become the man your wife believed you could be, the father your son deserves. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell. Minjae was led out of the courtroom. As he passed the gallery, he saw someone in the back row, Lee Hyunwoo. Their eyes met. Hyunwoo nodded once. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. It was enough. Year 1 prison was exactly what Minjae expected, and nothing like it at the same time. The minimum security facility was clean, structured, strict but not violent. He had a cell to himself, a small bed, a desk, a toilet, a window that showed a courtyard where inmates could exercise. His days became routine. Wake at 6 a.m., breakfast at 6:30, work duty from 7 to 11. He was assigned to the library, shelving books and helping with inventory. Lunch at noon, education programs from 1 to 4 p.m. Dinner at 5, free time until 9. Lights out at 10. It was monotonous. It was peaceful. It was the first time in his adult life he'd had time to think. He enrolled in every program available. Anger management, financial literacy, parenting classes, even though he didn't have custody and probably never would. GED tutoring. He helped other inmates prepare for the exam. He read constantly. Started with fiction, escapism, fantasy worlds where he could forget where he was, then moved to philosophy, psychology, books about redemption and change and what it meant to be a good person. One book in particular stuck with him, a memoir by a former gang member who'd turned his life around. The man wrote about the moment he realized he was becoming the villain in his own child's story. Minjae read it 3 times. He wrote letters, not to Yuna. He didn't have an address, didn't know where she was. But he wrote them anyway, filled notebooks with things he wanted to say, apologies, explanations, promises. He never sent them, but writing helped. He also wrote to Jay, "Dear Jay, I know you probably don't remember me. You were 7 when I last saw you. You're 8 now, almost 9. I missed your birthday again. But this time it's because I'm in prison, not because I forgot. I could never forget you again. I hope you're happy. I hope you're in a place with big waves and yellow turtle shirts and all the ice cream you want. I hope your mom tells you stories about the good parts of me, the parts that existed before I lost my way. I love you, even though I have no right to." Appa, he wrote a letter like that every month, stored them in a box under his bed. Maybe someday, if Jay ever wanted to know him, he could read them. Understand that Minjay had thought about him every single day. Year 2 Minjay was assigned a new cellmate, a young man named David, 23, arrested for assault during a bar fight that went wrong. David was angry, loud, constantly complaining. Minjay ignored him mostly, but one night, David broke down. "I fucked up my whole life," he sobbed. "My girlfriend left me. My family won't talk to me. I'm stuck in here for 3 more years." Minjay sat on his bed reading. "Did you hear me? I said I fucked up. I heard you. And you don't care? I care. But feeling sorry for yourself won't change anything." David glared at him. "Easy for you to say. You're all calm and zen. Like this doesn't bother you. It bothers me every day. Then why are you so quiet about it?" Minjay closed his book. "Because I deserve to be here. I did terrible things. Hurt people. Destroyed my family. This is my consequence. That's it? You just accept it?" "Yes. And then I try to be better." He looked at David. "You can spend 3 years being angry. Or you can spend 3 years learning how to not be the person who ended up here." David stared at him. "That's the most depressing pep talk I've ever heard." Minjay smiled slightly. "It's not supposed to be inspiring. It's supposed to be true." Over the next few months, David started to change. Started attending programs, reading, talking less about what he'd lost and more about what he wanted to build. One day he said, "You'd make a good counselor when you get out." Minjay hadn't thought about what he'd do when he got out, but the idea stuck with him. Helping people who'd made mistakes. Maybe that could be his redemption. In his 2nd year, Minjay received his first visitor. He'd listed no one on his approved visitor list. He'd assumed no one would come, but when the guard called his name during recreation time, he was confused. "You have a visitor. There must be a mistake. Park Minjay, ID number 2847. You have a visitor." Minjay followed the guard to the visiting room, and sitting at one of the tables, looking older and tired but alive, Lee Hyunwoo. Minjay stopped in the doorway. Hyunwoo gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." Minjay sat slowly. They stared at each other. Finally, Hyunwoo spoke. "You look different. Prison will do that." "No, I mean, you look lighter, less burdened." Minjay didn't know what to say. "I came because Yuna asked me to check on you." Minjay's heart jumped. "She did? Don't get excited. She didn't ask because she cares. She asked because she wants to make sure you're actually changing, that this wasn't just a performance for the trial. How is she? How's Jay?" "They're good. Happy. Jay is thriving. He's learning English, making friends. He talks about dinosaurs constantly." Hyunwoo smiled slightly. "He's a good kid. Does he ask about me?" "Sometimes. Yuna tells him the truth, that you made mistakes but you're trying to fix them, that you're in timeout." He paused. She frames it in a way a kid can understand. Minjay's throat tightened. "Why are you really here, Hyunwoo?" "Because I need to know if you actually regret what happened, or if you're just sorry you got caught." Minjay met his eyes. "I regret everything. Every choice that led me here. Every moment I chose my father's world over my family. Every time I ignored my conscience." "That's not what I asked." "I know, but it's the truth." Minjay leaned forward. "I can't undo what I did. I can't bring back the years I stole from Yuna and Jay, but I can make sure I never become that person again." Hyunwoo studied him. "You know, when Yuna found me 2 years ago, I wanted to kill you. I wanted revenge for what your family did to me. I wouldn't have blamed you. But Yuna stopped me. She said revenge would just create more pain, that the only way forward was justice. Real justice." He smiled sadly. "She's smarter than both of us. She always was." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Hyunwoo stood. "I'll tell her you're bearable. That's the best you're getting from me. That's more than I deserve." Hyunwoo paused at the door. "For what it's worth, Minjay, I think you can change. I've seen worse men do it. But it's going to take more than 3 years in prison. It's going to take the rest of your life." "I know." Hyunwoo nodded and left. Minjae sat alone at the table for a long time after. She'd asked about him. Yuna had asked Hyunwoo to check on him. It wasn't much, but it was something. Year 3 Minjae was granted parole. The hearing was brief. His lawyer presented evidence of his good behavior, his completion of programs, his work in the library, letters of recommendation from guards and counselors. The parole board deliberated for 15 minutes. Mr. Park, you have served 3 years of your 5-year sentence. You have shown exceptional cooperation and rehabilitation. Your parole is granted, effective in 30 days. Minjae barely reacted. He'd known this was coming. He'd been eligible for 6 months, but hearing it made it real. In 30 days, he'd be free, and he had no idea what to do with that freedom. His last night in prison, David asked him, "What's the first thing you're going to do?" "Find a job, find a place to live, stay clean. That's it? That's everything. What about your wife, your kid?" "They're not mine anymore. But, David, I don't get a happy reunion. I don't get my family back. That's not how this works." Minjae looked at him. "I destroyed that. The best I can hope for is that someday, maybe, my son will want to know me. But I don't get to demand it. I don't get to expect it." "That's really sad, man." "Yeah, it is." The day Minjae walked out of prison, it was raining. Not a heavy rain, just a steady drizzle that made everything gray and soft. He stood outside the gates, wearing the same clothes he'd been arrested in 3 years ago. They didn't fit quite right anymore. He'd lost weight, gained muscle from prison exercise, changed in ways that weren't just physical. A social worker met him with a folder containing his release papers, information about halfway houses, and a list of jobs that hired former convicts. "Good luck, Mr. Park. Thank you." He took a bus to Seoul, to a part of the city he'd never spent time in before, far from his father's territory, far from everything he'd known. He checked into a halfway house, a small room with 4 other men, all of them recently released, all of them trying to start over. The next day, he started looking for work. Most places turned him away immediately when they saw his record. Organized crime, money laundering, extortion. "We can't hire someone with that background." "I understand." He applied to 43 places in 2 weeks. The 44th said yes. A small moving company, hard labor, loading trucks, lifting furniture, minimum wage. The owner was a man in his 60s who'd served time himself 30 years ago. "I believe in second chances," he said. "But you screw up once, you're gone." "I won't screw up. We'll see." 6 months later, Minjae's life developed a new routine. Wake at 5 a.m., breakfast at the halfway house, work from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., dinner, attend mandatory counseling sessions twice a week, attend voluntary support groups 3 times a week, read, write letters to Jay that he still never sent, sleep. It was humble. It was honest. It was nothing like his old life, and he was grateful for it. He saved money. Not much. Moving furniture didn't pay well, but enough to eventually get his own small studio apartment. It was tiny. 1 room, a bathroom the size of a closet, a window that faced a brick wall. But it was his, clean, quiet, free of blood money. He furnished it simply. A mattress on the floor, a small table, 2 chairs, a bookshelf he built himself from scrap wood. He put up exactly 1 photograph, the family portrait Jay had drawn 8 years ago. The one with Appa, Uma, and Jay, all smiling. He'd found it in a box of his belongings that had been in storage. Everything else from his old life he'd donated or thrown away. But he kept the drawing, as a reminder of what he'd had, and what he was working toward deserving again. 1 year later, Minjae was promoted to crew supervisor. It wasn't glamorous. He managed a team of 4 guys, made sure jobs got done on time, handled customer complaints, but it was leadership without violence, responsibility without corruption. He was good at it. "You ever think about doing something bigger?" his boss asked one day. "Like what?" "I don't know. You're smart, organized. You could probably do more than move furniture." "This is enough." His boss studied him. "You're afraid." "Of what?" "Of wanting more. Of falling back into old patterns." He leaned against the truck. "But Minjae, wanting to build something doesn't make you your father. It's how you build it that matters." The words stuck with him. That night, he researched counseling programs for former convicts, for people trying to rebuild. He found a certification course, 18 months, night classes, affordable on his salary if he was careful. He enrolled. 18 months later, Minjae graduated from the counseling program. He was 37 years old, 4.5 years removed from prison. Nearly 6 years since Yuna had left. He got a job at a reentry center, helping newly released inmates adjust to life outside prison. It paid slightly better than moving furniture, But more importantly, it felt meaningful. He met with men who'd made mistakes, who were angry, scared, lost. He told them his story, not to brag, not to excuse, but to show them that change was possible. I was the heir to a criminal empire, he'd say. I had money, power, respect, and I was miserable, because it was all built on suffering. Now I live in a studio apartment and take the bus to work, and I'm happier than I've ever been, because I can sleep at night. Some of them listened, some didn't, but the ones who did, they changed. He got letters from former clients, thanking him, telling him they'd gotten jobs, reconciled with family, stayed clean. It wasn't the legacy his father had wanted for him. It was better. 2 years later, Min-jae was walking home from work when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. He'd learned to be wary of unknown numbers. Sometimes reporters still tried to interview him about the trial, but something made him pick up. Hello? Min-jae? A voice he'd know anywhere. Yuna. His heart stopped. Yuna. Hi. Silence. Is everything okay? Is Jay? Jay is fine. He's great, actually. He's 13 now, taller than me. Obsessed with marine biology. Min-jae smiled despite himself. Marine biology? We live near the ocean. He wants to be a marine scientist. Study whales. She paused. He's brilliant, Min-jae. Gets it from his uncle. He gets it from you. A soft laugh. Maybe. More silence. Why are you calling? Because. She took a breath. Because Hyunwoo has been keeping me updated. About you. Your job. Your program. Your life. He has. I asked him to. I needed to know if you were actually changing or if you were just performing again. And I think you've changed. Really changed. Min-jae sat down on a bench. His legs felt weak. Jay has been asking about you more. He's old enough now to understand what happened. What you did. What you're doing now. What does he want to know? If you're a good person. If you were always bad. If people can change. Her voice softened. I told him I think you can. That you are changing. That you're trying to fix your mistakes. Min-jae's vision blurred. He asked if he could write to you. What did you say? I said it was his choice. That I wouldn't stop him if he wanted to. But that he should think about it first. About whether he was ready. And he's been thinking about it for 3 months. And yesterday, he said he wanted to try. Min-jae couldn't speak. I'm not saying he wants a relationship, Min-jae. I'm not saying you get to be his father again. But maybe you can be someone in his life. Eventually. If you keep doing the work. I will. I promise. Don't promise. Just do it. Okay. Another pause. I'm proud of you, Yuna said quietly. For what you've become. It doesn't erase what you did. But it matters. Thank you. I have to go. Jay has swimming practice. But I'll send you an address. You can write to him. If he writes back, you'll know he's ready. Yuna? Yes? Are you happy? Long silence. Yes, I am. Really happy. Hyunwoo and I. We've built a good life here. For Jay. For us. Min-jae's chest ached. But it was a good ache. I'm glad. You deserve happiness. So do you, Min-jae. I hope you find it. The line went dead. Min-jae sat on the bench as rain started to fall again. She was happy. Jay was thriving. And he might get a chance to know his son again. It wasn't the fairy tale ending he'd once dreamed of, but it was real, and it was enough. 3 months later, the letter arrived on a Tuesday. Min-jae saw it in his mailbox and almost didn't believe it. A blue envelope, neat handwriting, a return address in a country he'd never visited, and in the corner, J Park. Min-jae's hand shook as he opened it. Inside was a single page, written in careful English with a few Korean words mixed in. Dear Appa, Mom says I can call you that if I want to. I'm not sure if I want to yet, but I'll try. My name is Jay. I'm 13 years old. I live near the ocean. I like swimming and science and dinosaurs still. Mom told me what happened. Why you went away. Why we left. I was really angry for a long time. I didn't understand why you forgot about me. Why you chose someone else. But Uncle Hyunwoo explained that sometimes adults make really bad choices, and that the important thing is if they try to fix them. Mom says you're trying. That you work with people who made mistakes. That you're different now. I don't know if I believe it yet, but I want to see. So I guess you can write back, if you want. Tell me about your life, about what you do, about who you are now. Not who you were, who you are. Min-jae read the letter 5 times. Then he sat at his small table and started writing. Dear Jay, thank you for your letter. You don't know how much it means to me. You're right to be cautious. You're right to wait and see if I've changed. I would be cautious too. So let me tell you who I am now. I live in a small apartment in Seoul. I work at a re-entry center helping people who made mistakes learn how to live better lives. I take the bus to work. I read a lot. I don't have much money, but I'm happy. I'm not the same person I was when you were 7. That person was lost, selfish, broken. I'm still broken in some ways. I always will be. But I'm trying to build something good from the pieces. You said you like marine biology. That's amazing. The ocean is full of mysteries. I'd love to hear about what you're learning. I want you to know something, Jay. Even though I don't deserve to be called your father, I never stopped thinking about you. Every single day for 6 years, I thought about you. Wondered if you were happy. Hoped you were safe. I wrote you letters every month. I never sent them because I didn't have an address. But I have a whole box of them. Maybe someday if you want, you can read them. See that you were always on my mind. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to want a relationship. But if you want to keep writing, I'll keep answering. I'm proud of you. For being smart and curious and kind. For giving me this chance. Minjae. You can call me Appa when you're ready, but Minjae is fine too. He mailed the letter the next day. 6 months later, the letters became regular. Once a month at first, then twice a month, then weekly. Jay wrote about school, about swimming competitions, about the documentary he watched about humpback whales. Minjae wrote about his work, about the men he helped, about the books he was reading. They didn't talk about the past much. They focused on the present, on who they were becoming. One letter, Jay wrote, "Mom says maybe I can visit Korea someday. Would you want that?" Minjae's response, "Only if you want to. No pressure, but yes. I would love that more than anything." 1 year later, Minjae was at work when he got the call. "Minjae, it's Hyunwoo. Hey, is everything okay?" "Yeah, better than okay, actually." He paused. "Yuna wanted me to tell you. We're coming to Korea next month. For a visit, family trip." Minjae's heart raced. "Really?" Jay asked if he could meet you, in person. Yuna agreed, but with conditions. "What conditions?" "Public place, short visit. I'll be there as supervision. And if Jay wants to leave at any point, we leave. No arguments. Of course. Whatever he needs." "Good. I'll send you details." "Hyunwoo?" "Yeah?" "Thank you. For everything. For helping Yuna. For checking on me. For giving me this chance. Don't thank me. Thank Yuna. She's the one who believed you could change." A pause. "Don't prove her wrong." "I won't." The meeting they met at a park. Not the fancy kind with fountains and sculptures. Just a regular neighborhood park with a playground and some benches. Minjae arrived 30 minutes early. Sat on a bench. Tried to breathe normally. At exactly 2 p.m. he saw them. Yuna walked across the park with a teenage boy beside her. Hyunwoo followed a few steps behind. Jay. He was tall. Almost as tall as Yuna. Lanky in the way teenagers are. He wore jeans and a hoodie with a whale on it. His hair was longer than Minjae remembered. But his eyes were the same. Minjae stood up. They stopped a few feet away. Yuna looked different too. Older, but happy. There was a lightness to her that hadn't been there before. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi." Jay stared at him, studying, evaluating. Minjae didn't move, didn't try to hug him. Just stood there letting Jay look. Finally, Jay spoke. "You look different than I remember. You too. You're so tall." A small smile. "I'm taller than Mom now." "I can see that." Awkward silence. Then Jay said, "Uncle Hyunwoo says you help people now." "I do. People who made mistakes. I try to show them there's another way. Do you like it?" "I love it. More than before?" Minjae knew what he was asking. 1,000 times more. Because this is real. What I did before was built on lies. This is built on truth. Jay nodded slowly. Yuna gestured to the bench. "Should we sit?" They sat. Minjae on one end. Yuna on the other. Jay in the middle. Hyunwoo stood nearby, giving them space but watching carefully. They talked for an hour. About safe things. School. Work. Books. The ocean. Jay told him about a research trip he wanted to take. About colleges he was looking at. About his dreams of studying marine conservation. Minjae listened. Asked questions. Didn't try to give parental advice. Just listened. When the hour was up, Yuna stood. "We should go. We have dinner reservations." Jay stood too. He looked at Minjae. "This was okay." "Yeah? Yeah, not weird. Just okay. I'm glad." Jay hesitated, then held out his hand. Minjae shook it. His son's hand was bigger than his now. "Maybe we can do this again," Jay said. "Before we leave, if you want. I'd like that very much." Jay nodded and walked away with Yuna. Hyunwoo lingered. That went well. It did. Don't mess it up. I won't. Hyunwoo smiled slightly. See you next time, Min-jae. He left. Min-jae sat on the bench for a long time after they were gone. He'd met his son. Talked to him. As equals. As people. Not as father and son. Not yet. Maybe never. But as two humans trying to understand each other. It was everything. 2 years later. Min-jae's apartment was small, but full. He'd been promoted to director of the re-entry center. Better pay. More responsibility. The chance to build programs that actually helped people. He'd started a podcast too. Interviews with former criminals who'd turned their lives around. It had a modest following, but was growing. He'd published a book. A memoir called Breaking the Empire. One man's journey from crime to redemption. The advance had been enough to move to a slightly bigger apartment. He'd furnished it simply. But on the walls, he'd hung photographs. His counseling certification. A group photo from the re-entry center. Letters from clients who'd succeeded. And in a frame on his desk, a recent photo Yuna had sent him. Jay at his high school graduation. Cap and gown, huge smile, holding his diploma, full scholarship to a marine biology program. They'd been writing regularly for 2 years. Sometimes Jay called. They'd talk for hours about science and life and everything in between. Last month, Jay had called him Appa for the first time in 7 years. Min-jae had cried after hanging up. He still wasn't Jay's father. Not in the traditional sense. He'd missed too much, done too much damage. But he was something. A presence. A support. Someone Jay could trust. It was enough. 5 years later, Min-jae was 45 years old. He'd been out of prison for 12 years. Free from his father's world for 13. His father had died in prison 3 years ago. Heart attack. Min-jae had been notified but didn't attend the funeral. There was nothing to say. Nothing to mourn. That chapter was closed. Min-jae's life was quiet. Purposeful. Full of small joys. Morning coffee. Helping someone get a job. Reading letters from Jay, who was now in graduate school studying whale migration patterns. He dated occasionally. Nothing serious. He wasn't sure he was ready for that. But he had friends. Real friends. People who knew his past and accepted him anyway. He had meaningful work. He had peace. One day his phone rang. Min-jae? It's Yuna. They talked occasionally. Usually about Jay. Sometimes about life. Hey, everything okay? Yeah, I wanted to tell you something. What? Jay is getting married. Min-jae's heart swelled. Married? That's amazing. To a wonderful person he met in graduate school. They're perfect together. When? Next summer. Here. A small ceremony by the ocean. That sounds beautiful.
If you stayed until the end, it's because this story stayed with you. What you heard here is just a fragment. The full experience lives in 30 complete audio stories, carefully told with every emotion, every secret, and every moment that couldn't be shared on YouTube. There are no ads, no interruptions, and you can listen anytime, anywhere, in total privacy. Scan the QR code on your screen now, or tap the link in the pinned comment, and discover what was never said.
Silence. Then Yuna said, "He wants you to come." Min-jae couldn't speak. He said, and I'm quoting, "Min-jae has been there for me for 8 years. He's part of my life. I want him at my wedding." Tears streamed down Min-jae's face. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll come." Of course I'll come." "Good." She paused. "Min-jae? Yeah? I'm proud of you. Of who you've become. You did the work. You changed. That's rare. Thank you, Yuna, for everything. For giving me a chance. For protecting Jay. For being the strongest person I've ever known. We both survived. That's what matters. Are you happy?" "Yes, really happy. Hyunwoo and I got married last year, actually." Min-jae smiled. "Congratulations. He's a good man." "He is. We're good together." She laughed softly. "Life turned out okay, for all of us." It did. "See you at the wedding, Min-jae." "See you at the wedding." The wedding. The ceremony was on a beach at sunset. 50 people. Close friends and family. Min-jae stood in the back, watching. Jay looked so grown. So happy. So far removed from the scared 7-year-old who'd watched his parents' marriage crumble. When Jay said his vows, Min-jae cried. After the ceremony, during the reception, Jay approached him. "Min-jae, thanks for coming. Thank you for inviting me." They stood together, watching the ocean. "I'm glad you're here," Jay said quietly. You're part of my story. Not the beginning, but the middle. The part where things got better. You're the best part of my story, Jay. Always have been." Jay smiled. "I'm not going to call you Dad. That doesn't feel right. But you're family. In your own way. That's more than I deserve. Maybe. But it's what you earned. They stood together in comfortable silence. Later, as the party wound down, Yuna approached Minjai. They stood at the edge of the beach, watching the waves. Thank you, Minjai said, for all of this, for giving me a chance to be in his life. You earned it. She looked at him. You're not the same man I left 13 years ago. No, I'm not. That man was broken, selfish, lost. She smiled slightly. This man is better, not perfect, but better. I'm trying. I know. She turned back to the ocean. I forgave you, by the way. A few years ago, I realized holding on to anger was just hurting me, so I let it go. I don't know if I can forgive myself. You don't have to. Just keep being better. That's enough. They stood together, two people who'd once been married, who'd once been broken, who'd found their way to something like peace. Do you ever wonder what would have happened? Minjai asked. If I'd made different choices? Sometimes. But not in a sad way. Just curious. She smiled. I'm happy with how things turned out. I have Hyunwoo. Jay is thriving. You're healthy and doing good work. That's better than what we had. It is. Take care of yourself, Minjai. You too, Yuna. She walked back to the party. Minjai stayed a moment longer, watching the sunset. 13 years ago, he'd lost everything. His wife, his son, his empire, his freedom. But in losing it all, he'd found something better. Purpose, peace, redemption. He'd never be the father Jay deserved in the beginning, but he was someone Jay could respect now. Someone Jay chose to have in his life. That was enough. More than enough. As he walked back to the celebration, the sun setting behind him, Minjai smiled. He was 45 years old. He lived in a small apartment. He took the bus to work. He had no fortune, no power, no empire, but he had something his father never had. A clean conscience, real relationships, a life worth living, and for the first time in his entire existence, he was truly, completely happy. The end epilogue. 5 more years later, Jay's first child was born on a Tuesday. Minjai got the call at work. It's a boy. Jay's voice was bright with exhaustion and joy. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Everyone's healthy. Congratulations, Jay. That's wonderful. We're naming him Daniel. Daniel Hyunwoo Park. After Yuna's brother. After the man who'd saved them all. Minjai's eyes filled with tears. That's a perfect name. Minjai? Yeah? I was wondering. When you visit next month, would you want to meet him? Would you want to be in his life? Not as a grandfather. That feels too formal. But as, I don't know, a good person who cares about him? Minjai's voice shook. I would love that more than anything. Good. Because I want my son to know people who changed, who chose better, who proved that mistakes don't have to define you. I'll be there. And he was. And for the rest of his life, Minjai got to watch Jay's family grow. Got to be a presence at birthdays and holidays. Got to be someone Daniel called Uncle Min and looked up to. Not as the man he'd been, but as the man he'd become. And every night, before he went to sleep in his small apartment with his simple life and his clean conscience, Minjai was grateful for second chances, for redemption, for a wife who'd been brave enough to save herself and her son, for a son who'd been generous enough to let him back in, for a life that was finally, truly, worth living. The end.